What is going on, guys? Welcome back to GT Online, and well, as y'all know, the new Declasse Graugur did release yesterday, and I have to admit, this is probably one of my favorite off-road vehicles in the game, and I do also hope I pronounced that name of this vehicle correctly, but nonetheless, I think Rockstar did such a great job with this truck. I do love the big tires on there, the suspension looks good, plus it has a lot of good customization as well, so I think Rockstar did a really good job with this truck overall, because I know a lot of players have been looking for like some type of big off-roading truck in the game, and or like something that's lifted, which I do think having the option to lift up certain trucks would be really cool. I do think a lot of players are going to love this truck just because of the off-road ability and or look to it. Now, I would also say a lot of players would love to see some type of update, as I mentioned before. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that in the comments below, by the way. Would you love to see some type of like off-road DLC where we can like lift up trucks or like make more vehicles orientated for off-road? I think that would be really cool to see. Now, if you guys are interested in the way I customize my truck, I will have that timestamped at the end of the video as well, because I really do love the camo look with the tan on this thing. I think it looks great. But nonetheless, let's go do an outside look of this truck right now, and I definitely have to take this thing in some crazy off-road areas to really see what it's capable of. So now, taking an outside look of the new Declasse here, now I have to admit one thing, by the way, guys. Not only does this truck look awesome, but on my drive over here, I probably had the most fun I've had in a vehicle in this game in a really long time. I mean, this thing is a blast to drive. It's also really fast as well, which will make it really fun to use off-roading. Now, I'm going to jump on the highway here in a second on my way to the swamp area by the military base to really test out its speed over there, but my goodness, I'm very impressed with this vehicle so far. Now, let's see if anything can open up on it. So, it looks like just the doors in the front end of the truck open up there, which honestly does make sense. I mean, what are you going to actually open up in the back here besides maybe taking off the tire of it? Now, let's see if there's any detail in this engine, which is going to be kind of hard to see because it's so tall. Luckily, the engine is detailed pretty dang good for the most part. You can also see the headers right there shining through it as well. Obviously, the bottom part of the engine isn't going to be detailed, which honestly isn't that big of a deal anyway. But besides that, guys, jumping into the new Declasse here. Now, one thing I noticed immediately is the sound of the idle of this truck. Plus, this thing also sounds really good. Now, moving over to the interior view of the truck here. Now, I do think this also looks pretty dang good for the most part. Obviously, you can see the carbon fiber and all the dials on there. It's going to be like a racing truck, so you're really not going to see all that much anyway. But I still think the interior does look pretty dang good. But now, let's go head over to the swamp area by the military base. And I definitely want to see what this truck can do over there. So let's see. So immediately when you guys jump into this, you're going to notice the insane acceleration on this, which honestly is going to be really fast for being an off-road truck on GTA. I mean, this thing definitely moves. Similar to the Camacho, I did notice that, and this thing's going to look a lot better. Even though that truck's only like $350,000, this will run you about $1.8 million, with the regular price and about 1.4 on the trade price, which honestly is going to be worth every bit of it. I'm really liking this thing so far, and it's very fun to drive as well. So currently flying down the highway, I can't really see how fast I'm going because of my hand there. But I noticed this truck can normally sit about 120 miles an hour or so, which I think is going to be pretty dang impressive for its size and or, you know, how this truck actually looks. So off-roading this thing's probably going to be really fun as well. One thing I was also noticing about this thing as well that was pretty awesome was the fact that it corners a lot better than I thought it was going to. You would expect trucks to kind of struggle a bit, but this thing really does not, which is pretty awesome. I have a feeling this is going to be probably everybody's favorite off-roading vehicle in the game. Just look how this thing actually picks up. Kind of insane, to be honest. I'm going to go around the beach area here and see how it does. So I have a feeling the snorkel is going to be for show. You know, most of the other off-road vehicles can also go in the water a good amount. And then obviously they will end up, you know, eventually like dying and all that. Let's go around here. Now let's immediately climb up this mountain, which literally had no issues whatsoever. So one thing I did notice, by the way, guys, is, well, I was testing this truck out just a little bit to see how far it can go in water, and I noticed if you stop just a little bit, which I will end up showing you guys as well, I noticed the truck dies immediately, and mind you, this thing's going to cost about $20,000 every time, which I do think that's going to be a bit of a problem, because a snorkel definitely is not working on it. Obviously, it is GTA, so I'm really not expecting it to. But I know a lot of players are probably buying some of these vehicles for the off-roading ability they may have, and having something that might struggle might make this thing kind of annoying to use, but I have to admit, it's still really fun to drive around these areas. So what I thought about doing was basically flying across this lake area. Now that one truck with the really big tires can basically get across with no problems, so that was really no issues either there. It handles very well, so I have to admit that. Like, this thing isn't struggling in any way possible. Sometimes the trucks might have issues off-road, which is kind of odd because, you know, GTA logic, some of the vehicles really don't make any sense. But I think they did a good job with how this truck does handle for the most part. So as you guys will see right there, the truck didn't really struggle too much in that. Now, if the thing happened to stop for like a split second, then you're most likely going to end up swamping it. Fly through here again. Now, when I was testing this vehicle out a second ago in that one area, I did notice that it did not have to get that deep, and it still died, so I'm going to show that right now. And then I'll head over to where the tunnel is and do a top speed run just because. So here, check this out. So there's a snorkel right there. Let's head into the water a little bit deeper. So the snorkel's still showing, and the vehicle is destroyed that easily. So I do think that's going to be a bit of a problem. You have a good amount of space there as well, plus it's nowhere near the snorkel. That's one unfortunate thing about this, as I really was not in the water that long. So now I am sitting by the tunnel with the new Graugur. Now, I would say many players are probably not going to buy this truck because of its top speed. Honestly, with an off-road vehicle, you're really not looking for crazy top speed with that. Like, for example, the Ram TRX in real life does like 118 miles an hour, and there's really no reason to go faster than that with something that size. I would say this truck's going to be in the same category because this thing is huge. Now, unfortunately, it is going to swamp out really easily in the water, but luckily, racing around on the trails and or off-roading it, like going over rocks, it will basically probably have no issues whatsoever doing most of the off-roading you guys plan on doing in this game. I mean, this truck has a lot of power, so I would say a lot of players are probably going to have a lot of fun with this thing regardless. Now, before I do the top speed run, I do want to climb the mountain that's in front of me right now because for some weird reason, I do not know why I want to climb that, but let's go do that now. I'm kind of impressed as well. This truck can almost climb up like any rock face you really throw at it, which is kind of impressive because a lot of vehicles might not be fast enough. Let's climb this right now. Look at that, no issues at all. Wow, look at this. Ooh, my goodness, look at that, guys. Right up the mountain with no issues whatsoever. Look at that. I did hit the rock there, drove right over that. Very weird place on this mountain. I'm not liking this all that much. This might have been a bad idea. And it was a bad idea. Or not. But having a vehicle that can do like 119 or so is honestly going to be really good. And this will also be as fast as most of the other cars in the game and probably can keep up with some of these sports cars, which I think is hilarious. So right now I'm doing about 119 or so, which I did notice on my way back basically from the city all the way to over here. I was averaging about 119 the entire time, so I would say that's probably going to be around the top speed of the vehicle. Maybe like 118 to like 117 or so depending on the road you are on. Then if I went like down a hill or went over some bumps, the truck did speed up a good amount above 120 to like 125. So I have a feeling the Graugur is going to be a really good vehicle, not only for its speed, but also the fun factor this new truck is going to bring to many players because I'm having an absolute blast driving this thing around, especially messing around in the dunes and or doing off-roading because this thing is so dang fast as well. Which I think all this combined is going to make this truck just an absolute blast. And not only that, it also has lots of customization that I'm going to show you guys right now. Do the brakes, max those out, moving over to the bumper. So there's going to be 19 of these. That's definitely a lot. Let's check these out here. I do like the winch being on the front there. I think that looks really cool. I'm probably going to end up going with one of those. So it looks like it changes the color of it, adds like some pieces to it, then does change the color of that one. And then moving down to the secondary bumper. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do really like how the bars look on this one. I might have to go with that bumper. Then we have the other one after that. Moving down to the next one. Then that one's going to have the bars on it plus the winch as well. So for me, I'm going to go with the black bumper on the front here. Really digging that one a lot. Moving over to the rear bumpers now. That one has a bar on it there, but this one's going to have a bigger bar. I kind of like how that looks. Moving down to the doors now. Let's check this out. There'll be 11 other doors you can do and or 10. Kind of liking these a little bit. I might end up going with like a mesh one on the door. I kind of like how those might look. Kind of like a rallycross door or something like that you'd see in a window. That one's kind of cool. I do like the mesh tube. That one looks good. Ooh, look at that one. That one's crazy. We have the tube net. Digging that one a bit. And then finally at the bottom we have the padded tube net doors, which I honestly am digging this one a lot. So I'm going to put that on the truck. Let's move over to the engine and max that out. Moving down to the exhaust now. So that adds a dual on it. Then we have the performance, which looks a little bit different than the top one. Then we have the dual performance. Then the twin titanium, that one looks pretty awesome. Then we have the oval. Then we have the titanium oval, kind of digging that one a bit. Gonna go with that for now. Then we have the carbon. Ooh, that's interesting, but honestly really doesn't look all that bad on this truck. Now, I personally don't really like that one too much. Then we have the bullhorn, which obviously comes out the top of the vehicle as well. So for me, I'm going to end up going with the titanium oval. Moving over to the grills now. Ooh, that adds the skid plate on the bottom. That's pretty awesome looking. Perfectly with the winch as well, so I do like that. And the bottom one basically changes how the bottom skid plate looks. Now, I do think all these skid plates do look pretty awesome on this truck, but for me, I'm going to end up going with the Rhino skid plate. Then horn doesn't really matter too much. Then we have the lights here, adding that to it. Moving down to the liveries. Looks like that adds like a white stripe on it. Then we have the blue stripe that goes around it. Looks kind of nice. So depending on the color scheme you guys have on the truck, some of these would probably actually look pretty awesome. That's pretty interesting looking. Then we have the color vine, the GTO racer. That's pretty awesome. All the way on the bumper as well. I really do like the detail of these liveries on here. Then we have the color stripes, which I have to admit really do not look all that bad on this. Then moving over to the final one is going to be a camo. So for me, I'm probably going to add the camo to the truck. I do like the feeling it gives to it, like that off-road, like military type of feeling, or like wilderness type of feeling to it. I also really like the built-in LED lights on the top there. That looks really good. Let's move down now to the respray of it. So for me, I'm probably going to have like a specific like white color on here. Black does look really good with the color scheme on this thing, so let's add that to it. Move down to the pearlescent here. Add that black as well, and then the secondary color. So for the secondary color, I kind of wanted something like a tan color on there to match the other part of the camo. So for this, I decided to go with the bleach brown. And let's move down over here to the seats now. Those look insane, my goodness. And we're going to have the competition, kind of like those a bit. We have the racing, then the lightweight, and then finally the rally seats. So for me, I'll go with the rally seats on this. Then we have the skid plates, which is going to be the back part of it now. Performance, I think all of these do look pretty good as well. I'll go with the Rhino just to match the front of the truck. Moving over to the snorkels, we have the trail, then we have the ram. So let's go with the ram on there. Then moving over to the spoiler now. So here's the primary. Then we have the secondary spoiler. And finally the carbon, which you can kind of see it on the top and the insides of it with the detail of it there. So for this, I'll probably go with the primary. I kind of like the color that gives it. Moving down to the suspension. So this is obviously a truck, so I really don't want to lower this thing all the way down, even though it really doesn't come down all that much because this truck's crazy lifted anyway. So for the suspension of this truck, I decided to leave it stock because I really don't want to lower it because, well, this thing is already lifted, and why make it lower for that matter? Let's do the transmission to it now. Now we have the trunk. That adds the bar in there. Then we have the tire. Kind of like how that does look though. And then moving down to the performance upgrade. Not going to lie, that one does look really good on this truck as well. Then we have the wheel on the back, which for me, I'm probably going to add this to it. It gives you like a trophy truck feeling to it. Then we'll add the turbo. And then for the wheels with this truck, I was going to leave it stock, but now I'm having a different idea here. So let's head into the off-road rims. So I wanted to go with these on it, but then I was thinking, and I'm actually going to go with these. Let's add the wheel color and make this like a tannish color to match like the other part of the truck there. Hopefully there's a color like that. Basically desert tan is probably the closest I can get. Then add the tire enhancements, the tire design, and that is pretty much it. Now it looks like you can't do any window work to the vehicle because, well, this thing doesn't have any windows on it. But besides that, guys, this thing's going to look pretty awesome. And let me know what your thoughts are on the new Declasse Graugur in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching.